everybody. Good morning. I know it's been a couple weeks since I've posted a video, but since how it's been getting nice here, the weather's starting to straighten up and be warm every day, I end up having, I'm doing a lot of stuff other than the car stuff right now. I've been helping my sister and stuff with her house and getting her yard all taken care of, and I've been filling up my pool and getting the chemicals and all that stuff right. And I know you guys really don't care to watch that kind of stuff, so that's why I haven't posted any videos, because I haven't been taking any, because that's what I've been doing now that the weather's been a lot better. But yeah, but I did go pick up a car. So here it is. This is a 97 Mustang base model V6 manual. The car was given to me by a friend of mine, and it hasn't been titled since 2018, and it's been sitting in a garage for the last 4 years. So don't know if it'll run yet, haven't tried it. That'll be a video for a different day. But here it is. This is what it looks like as I pulled it out of the garage. I aired up the tires and pushed it out of the garage, put it on the trailer, and brought it here. So today's video, we are going to start trying to tackle where my wire short is on the fire truck. Now with this thing, when I first bought it, it had a issue with the alternator. I got it rebuilt, put it on, drove it from the place that I bought it, maybe 10 miles to my house, was fine. Had it at my house, I changed some belts and stuff on it. Fired it up multiple times. It idled, everything fine around the house. And I took it before last winter, I took it down to put more fuel in it, because I didn't know how much fuel was in it, and I didn't want it to sit and get all gelled up over the winter time. And on my way to put fuel in it, excuse me, this video is probably not going to be the greatest because I'm outside, and as you guys know, I live on a highway, and I have a lot of traffic out here, so it's hard to hear. So I'll probably have to do some voiceover stuff and all that kind of thing, but I will take video of it all, and then I'll voice over it later if you can't hear me. I might try to use a new microphone I have. Maybe that'll help. But anyway, I was driving the truck to put fuel in it, and halfway there, the voltage meter dropped all the way to 0. So usually, on a voltage meter, it should show charge. It should show anywhere between like 12.5, 13 to 14-ish. And it dropped all the way to 0. So about 30 seconds after that, I smelt wires burning. So when I got to the gas station, I turned it off, and then wouldn't start again. So, and I noticed that the ground strap wire, I'll show you, the ground strap wire that was bolted to the back of the starter going straight to the frame, it's a decent sized wire, but here it is. And as you can see, it burnt every stitch of insulation off of that wire. That wire was glowing red hot. So that told me I had a short to ground somewhere in that wiring system that was hooked to this, because we were getting full battery power going straight through this ground strap straight to the frame. And that's where all my power from the batteries were going. Now the fire truck has 4 batteries on it. It has 2 on one side, 2 on the other side. There's a switch on the inside of the cab where you can switch to use the 2 on the driver's side, or you can use the 2 on the passenger side. You can also put it to both and use all 4 batteries. Now, it's still a 12 volt system. So you're basically just having more battery power available to you, but it's still all 12 volts. So that way you can run things like the other lights and the radios and all that kind of stuff that these, that they put on the fire trucks. That's why they have the extra batteries and stuff. Plus they have, a secondary set to start the vehicle if the first set was to run low or whatever. But I don't need all 4 batteries for what I'm gonna do with it. Not right now anyway. So we're going to, I'm gonna have to track down every wire from the batteries to the starter and to the fuse box in the truck and figure out which wire is either broke, melted to it rubbed and is now stuck to the frame and is grounding out that way, or I have 2 wires touching each other, a positive and a ground, and they're melted together. But something happened while I was driving it, so it has to be it rubbed or something like that, because I have since had the I first thought the starter may have shorted out. So I pulled the starter off, had a guy here in town rebuild the starter. He said it was not shorted out. It did have some parts that needed to be replaced, but it wasn't shorted. So it's all completely rebuilt. I put it back in the truck and we still have the same issue. So it's not that. The problem with this truck is there's a lot of wiring on the truck for different aspects of it. It has an onboard battery charger. It has, an onboard generator. It has an onboard, breaker box. I'll show you that stuff so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And all that stuff has wiring, that's running to the batteries. And so that's a lot of extra wiring that I'm gonna have to check that I really don't need on this vehicle now that it's not a fire truck. So, but as you can see, like, this is an onboard, so it has an onboard battery charger that of course has wires running up, down, through, going to the battery box, which does have 1 battery in it right now. So there's 1 battery hooked up to it. But all these cables here, I'm gonna have to find out where all of them go, all the way back in there. I'm gonna have to route them out one at a time, because one of these has to be shorted somewhere. So that's what we're running into, and that's what we're gonna have to get working on today. But I'll show you, it's got like a breaker box back here in the back. So see, it has onboard generator, of course, and it's got, 120, 240. It's hooked to all the wiring right there, running up to all these lights. You know, so it's got all this extra stuff on it. So see, it's got all this wiring here. I mean, it's literally out of a breaker box and running up and running all the way across, all the way over, and it's going all the way up to the front. So, I mean, this stuff looks all tied pretty good, but this is how it's tied all the way underneath the vehicle too. So I'm gonna have to get under there and cut all that loose and track every bit of that stuff down, because on this side is where the other two batteries usually reside. As you can tell, see, there's, you know, of course, 2 more battery cables. Plus, you know, this one's probably from the generator. And these were all hooked up. These were all hooked up fine. I mean, but they're all, and the bad part about it too is all of these wires, they're all black. Like none of them are red for positive, you know, black for negative. They're all black. So it's hard to find out which ones. I mean, there's a couple that are red, you know, red or green or whatever, but the majority of them going to the starter and stuff, they're all black. So it's hard to find which one's power, which one's ground. So that's what we're going to tackle today. Try to tackle. We've already been working on this truck for a couple days, messing with it. As far as, we thought it was the starter, wasn't the starter. We thought it was, you know. So today we're going to bring it back to the basics, and we're going to just try to track down every wire from what we need from the switch to the fuse box, to the ignition, to the batteries, to the starter, to the alternator. Get that straightened out, get it running, charging and all that fine. Then I can add other batteries later if I want to put in a stereo system, or, you know, more lights back on it, or if I want to do that stuff, then I can add those batteries back in myself, and then I can run them separately. That way I have them color coded, everything done the way I want it done. So, but yeah, hopefully, I mean, it's never fun, guys. It's never fun trying to track down a wiring issue in a vehicle. So that's where we're at. So I'll try and hook you up a microphone so maybe you guys can hear me better. If not, then I'll have to do some voiceover stuff. But so that's what we're gonna get busy with. First thing off is whenever you open up, whenever you tilt these cabs forward, they're mine doesn't have like a hydraulic. Some of them have like a hydraulic jack thing that you can jack the bodies up. Mine doesn't have that. See, like all these wires here, we're gonna have to track all these down. So we got a, you know, starter solenoid. First off, we're gonna have to find the fuse box in this up here somewhere. The bad part is it's right here by the highway, so it's loud, it's hard to hear, a lot of traffic, a lot of big trucks. So I'm gonna have to find the fuse box. It's probably behind this piece, so I'll have to pull this off. And then we'll tilt the cab and stuff up here in a minute. I'll show you how to do that. But with these cabs, you open both doors, open both front doors. Then when you go to lift this up back here, there's 2 levers back here. There's 2 releases. There's one here, and then there's a secondary release here. And then you take this handle and you push the cab up. But it's a lot easier if you have both front doors open, because these doors are heavy. When you close them, you're having to lift that extra weight. Well, now when the doors are open, they're actually helping pull the weight forward, which is helping you lift the back of it. So once you get it moving a little bit, the weight of the doors will help you pull it open. So I don't know how many people knew that, but that is how you do it. So we're gonna get started, and I won't talk so much, and we'll see if we can't figure out something. Panel over on the other side. So I'll bring you in here and see what we're looking at. So see, we have all these alternator wires right here that are running down this frame. They will also run across here. We had to replace the alternator, so it could be in these somewhere because we did move these around. But all of these, it could be in also. They run all together, and they all go over. They go up there to the switch where they hook in power and all that. So we got to check those. We're gonna have to trace back all those, and we're gonna have to trace back all those up there to see which ones go to the fuse box. Because over here, they all hook to the starter. You got these gigantic cables all coming from the front, from the side, and they all hook into the starter. Well, this was the cable that went from the starter to the frame that we have hooked up here that burnt. That's where it was hooked. But all these other ones, these two, and there's more underneath here. There's like 2, 3 more underneath there. We got to figure out which ones are supposed to be power, which ones are supposed to be grounds, because they're not color coded, they're not marked, and they're all the same color wire. So that's what we're gonna have to tackle. And there's some, I mean, there's more stuff up here that, like, wire here that doesn't really, it's not going anywhere. So it doesn't look like there's another end to it. There's only 2 wires coming out here, 2 wires hooked here. And I didn't have any other problems with it. Like I said, it started, it ran fine, and then all of a sudden it melted that wire and shorted out somewhere. But it looks like all those all of those front wires are probably right here coming from the fuse box. But I'm gonna get underneath the truck, I'm gonna cut all the zip ties loose and separate all the wires and see if I can't just find anything that stands out. I hope I can. It's gonna make it a little bit easier, but it's not gonna be easy at all, guys. This is not fun. Electrical stuff is not fun.
of the cable right here is the one that's hooked up on the right.
Right hand side of the switch.
Yep. That's this battery power. One that's loose must be the other side. But I don't know what that does with the two in the middle. Well, I have to undo them.
Undo the two in the middle.
So we want to check this center.
Check the center big load.
Alright, see which one of these.
One of these two, yeah.
Is power.
Yeah. Okay, my phone got outside and was in the heat. And then it went dead, of course, from video and all that of me walking around trying to figure out this fire truck. So we have figured it out. It apparently might be, well, I say we haven't figured out. Right now we don't have the alternator wires hooked up at all, and it'll turn over and the battery's not shorted or anything with the power on. So everything is back to normal as far as it being able to start and run, but the alternator is not hooked up. We checked the alternator wires. They seem to be fine. So we're thinking that there might be an issue with a short in the alternator itself. So what we're going to do is I have to get two new batteries in order to fire it up, get it running, and have enough power for it to stay running without an alternator. That way we can start hooking the wires to the alternator and see if we have the same issue start to happen. There is a way that you can check the alternator to see if it's good or bad. You can always take it into places like O'Reilly's or, you know, places like that, and they can put it on a tester and test it out for you. But AutoZone has one too. Advanced, all those guys. But there's also a way you can test it to see if it's shorted by using a multimeter. So we're going to do that. But as of right now, great progress. We've got a lot of the wiring out of the truck that I don't need. I know it was a lot of me rolling around on the ground again, fat guy on the ground. It's loud out here, lots of traffic, but it is progress. So there is wires hanging down. All that stuff is going to be getting cut out of there, pulled out of there, because I don't need it. The main stuff that I need is on there. The two batteries are both completely junk. They say 12 volts, but as soon as you apply a load to them, they drop all the way down to like 7. So they have bad cells in them. So I'm gonna have to get 2 new batteries. If the alternator was working and hooked up, I would be able to jump start it with those batteries, like with a jumper box or from another vehicle. And it would probably stay running. But with the alternator unhooked, you're gonna have pretty good batteries because it draws all of its power from the batteries. So as we try and troubleshoot the alternator, we're gonna test it first, of course. But if it tests out okay, we're still gonna troubleshoot it by hooking it up slowly and seeing if the problem reoccurs. But the wiring to the alternator looks fine. It's not shorted, it's not touching the frame or any other wires or anything like that it's not supposed to be. So they appear to be fine. So it's telling me that there's probably something internally in the alternator itself. But I know I haven't put any videos out for a while, a couple weeks. Like I said, I was helping my sisters with their houses and siding and getting my other sister's house faucets and stuff changed, and you know, clearing out brush and all that kind of stuff. Poison ivy for like the second time all over me, because I'm like so allergic to it that if I walk by it and see it, I get it. So that's an issue that I've had to be messing with. But I know you guys don't like watching the house stuff as much, so I haven't been taping any of that. But I figured I'd let you see that we are working on car stuff still, all the time. We do have the Mustang that we're gonna play with for a little bit, and of course the fire truck. That's top priority right now, getting it running, getting it sorted. That way I can start tearing the bed and stuff off of it. I can move it around, get it closer to the garage, start cutting it all up. And then of course, we're going to be building the spindles for the Baja Bug. I have to get the metal plate for that, and I'm going to cut those out and weld those up. And then we can start on the A-arms. So we still have that stuff going on. Plus, I was working on my yard and getting it cleaned up and getting my pool set up. So that's why you haven't seen anything from me. But I will try to do better at working on vehicles, and that way you guys have something to watch and, you know, not so bored with. Yeah, so take it easy and hit like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys later.